Hey everyone, it's Jason, and welcome to another Zombicide unboxing. This is for classic Zombicide, not to be confused with 2.0. Season 2 Prison Outbreak. This is a full core set. So you can definitely just pick this up and you can play with it as it is. You can mix and match with other classic stuff, or you can mix and match with 2.0. I am not going to re-go over all the basic rules in here because they're although Classic and 2.0 have a few differences, it's about 90% overlapping. So I'm going to maybe address a few things that stand out immediately as being different. And I'm going to introduce any of the new stuff that was for Prison Outbreak specifically. So if you're looking at picking this up to maybe add with some of the new stuff, you have an idea of what's going on. So what is this going to come with? First of all, we are going to get 6 brand new survivors as well as their Zombivor versions. Zombivors are, so let's do this. We have our old school cards here. So if you have the reboot set or the reboot pack from 2.0, you can use the smaller cards for all the characters. You can definitely use them and integrate them. But these will work just as well. They have all the same information on them. But they also have Zombivor versions, which are zombie versions, which can either be used as when your survivor dies, you can bring them back into play as this alternate version, or you can just start with this version. And they have a little bit different skills, and we will go over those, show the different stuff off there in a minute. The other big thing we're going to get is a new type of zombie, which are called berserkers, who are clad in orange. We'll get some regular zombies in here as well, and we'll go through all of them, and they get their own special spawn cards, which will have this little knife symbol. You can tell that that's it there for that. And yeah, if you have the reboot set, they will have that. And then we're also going to get our 9 tiles. And now this is being Prison Break. It's a prison-themed set. So let's look at some of our components before we get into any rules. So we're going to have this right here, and we'll talk about some more of these as we get through. We have our little counters. These things are used to track your points on your board. So you take one of the little arrows and you line it up with, your orange or yellow to show that you've unlocked that skill. Newer ones now have the little pegboards, which are really nice. We have an observation tower for the prison. We have some cars. We have the Pimpmobile. We have a yellow taxi there. We have some prison doors. Some regular doors. A security door. We have some objective tokens, some noise tokens. We flip this over. We have 2 different types of cars on there. We have some broken doors, of course. All our broken doors. And then we also have an additional room that's on the opposite side of the observation tower. Then we have another set of tiles, which is basically the exact same thing, just with 2 different cars on there. Then if we flip this over, we have another police and yellow car and another room there. That's exactly the same. Our third set of tiles or tokens are, we have a rotating security room, exit, some more objective tokens, first player marker, and rotten token for camouflage. We have some security terminals, which will link up to the purple and white link up to those 2 doors there, so we can keep track of those. Your security doors, as well as we have some extra regular purple and green door, or purple and white doors, some special security ones there. We have a blue and green door, which you typically have. We also have a yellow door added in there as well, which is cool. And our spawn tokens. Here's some broken barbed wire, which works with one of our tiles. And if we flip to the other side, we have all our different colors for our spawn points. If you need different spawn points, we have all our doors when they're closed. All our different objective tokens to match all the other stuff. And the observation, or the security thing, which is actually different. So it has a open border on those 2 sides. And then this one, it's on the top and bottom. So it's kind of cool. So there's all our different tokens. And we'll check back in with them when we get to some of the rules. Let's look at some of our tiles quick. We'll come back to these as this rules apply to them. But here we have a basketball court. So it has a streak on the outside. I'm just going to slide this over here. Has a streak on the outside. And then it lines up over here. But there's barbed wire around the outside with a thick wall so you can't get through there. And then just before we show off the back side we have on tile 2, we have the opposite side. So when you link them together, you can make the full basketball court. And I'm going to bring up one of the rules right away, as long as we're looking at this. We have barbed wire fences. So barbed wire fences can't be crossed and don't block a line of sight. They can be shot through. So these are basically, they're not walls. They're supposed to be like a full barbed wire fence all the way down. Barbed wire fence have special effect on zombie movement. Zombies will still follow the shortest route to the noisiest zone or visible survivor, as if there's no barbed wire fence. They pile up at the barbed wire fence until a shorter path is determined or the fence is destroyed. Abominations are strong enough to ignore barbed wire fences and can move through it, destroying it in the process. If an abomination has to go through a barbed wire fence, first put a torn barbed wire token in its link starting destination. Survivors and zombies can now cross, then proceed moving all zombies as the zombies' route may be redefined by the fence's destruction. So this is a really cool thing. So we have these, I'll pop one of these tokens out. So if the zombies are coming through this way, and we'll just grab a little zombie here, rawr, and we got one of our survivors here. Our survivors are standing here. The zombie is going to try and move into this area because it sees the person over here, but they're going to get stopped by this barbed wire fence. So unless they end up having a lot more noise down here, which is going to attract them, or this guy moves somewhere else and they decide to follow up this way, they're just going to keep standing right there waiting for you. You can sit there and shoot through them, take them out. The problem is going to be is eventually one of two things is going to happen. An abomination is going to come through and destroy it, and then everyone's going to flood in here, and you don't have a lot of exits necessarily. You might have one over here somewhere, but, you know. Or will eventually keep happening is you'll run out of zombie miniatures, and they'll just keep getting extra and extra activations, which isn't going to be a big deal if they all keep piling up in one spot, but now eventually this person might have to leave to get to an exit. And now if you have 20 zombies out in every spawn time, they'll gain extra, like 3-4 extra activations. You're not going to be able to outrun them. So it can help you, but it could eventually become a trap. And then we have the little token here. So if an abomination breaks through, got a big abomination here, rawr, he's going to break through. And then you put that little token on this, and now you know it's open. So that's pretty fun as well. It's a really neat mechanic. They've done similar things with this with like barricades, and stuff like that. Alright, so that was that tile. So let's flip over, see what's on the other side. Ooh, so this brings us to another fun mechanic we have in here. So there's a little dotted thing in the middle. So we have a triple hallway. And it has a little dotted line in here. This is actually for our rotating room, which we saw earlier. This is our little rotating room. It has 2 solid walls, 2 open rooms. And this 2 solid walls, 2 open rooms. And if I grab this, that will actually sit in there like that, or however it'll end up facing. And then there are mechanics that go with that. Let me find exactly which page of the rulebook those are. So we have the rotating security gates. The reversible rotating security gate tile allows you to open, change, or block with a simple trigger, usually a switch. Depending on spending an action to pull a dedicated switch, allows the player to activate the rotating gate, turn it a quarter turn any direction he wishes. Zombies don't spawn in rotating gates, and it cannot be searched. So there will be a switch somewhere, and you'll turn it, or you can turn it this way. Now there's you can enter through here, but there's no pathway out. These 2 spots are blocked. You can block zombies from coming in. And then you can turn it a second time, keeping these guys blocked, but you can open up this pathway. And alternatively, you could get your guys on here, or get them over there, and then you could turn it again, and now you can get around this way. It might be a way to go around. And then you can also turn it back the other way. In security zones. So security zones are building zones, has an impact, especially in line of sight. The only action allowable standing on a security zone is movement. Zombies and survivors can't finish their activation standing in a security zone. If they do, they're pushed back to the zone they left. Zombies don't spawn in a security zone, and cars can't cross it. So, you can't end your turn in one of these. You have to move all the way through it. If you have 2 movement, and you go 1, 2, and you can't move anymore for whatever reason, you're going to get kicked back out. So here it's saying, like, example, on the zombies phase, the fatty, or now called brutes, a walker, runner, and a berserker abominations stand before a security zone. The fatty and the walker walking in a security zone are pushed back into the zone they left because their activation is over. The runner walks in the security zone but is not pushed back as its activation is not over. The berserker crosses the security zone in a single move and ends its activation on the other side. The runner resolves its second activation and exits the security zone. So because these guys can move 2 spaces, they're going to move 1 into there, and then they're going to keep going. These other guys are going to walk on there, not have any more turns, and get kicked back out. There's a kind of a neat little mechanic as well, because not only can you turn the walls to block some of the bigger guys or access different areas, but it also means if you run through there, the slower guys aren't going to be able to get through there. Example 2, Bella starts her turn before a security zone. On the other side, there are zombies. She moves into the security zone as her first action. She now has no other choice but to move again, despite her submachine gun she holds. She has katanas in her other hand. For her second action, she moves forward and exits, and looking to slash the zombies. So yeah, that means you land on there, you can't stop, shoot all the zombies that are on the other side, or stop there, rotate it to get out the other side. You have to plan it. So, yeah, if this was, for example, turned this direction, so so we have Belle here, and she's right here, she can't move onto here, then rotate this, and then take a second movement here. You'd have to have somebody activate the trigger first to turn it so it's that way. I think it's through. Now, the other side is double-sided, so that makes it even harder. So if she starts like this, she can move 1 into here, and she can move over here. It can get rotated and block that, but there's no way for her to ever get up over there with this particular one. She can only go left and right. She can't move onto it, turn it, and then go like this. So it does actually make an interesting little mechanic there. Cool. So that's our second new feature of this set of tiles. Let's flip over this one. Alright, so then we have inside of the prison. We have some prison spots here, which are prison doors can be put in there. We also have a alleyway, or a hallway, as you'd probably refer to it as. I'm going to grab another tile that has another one of them, then we'll talk about that. So here we have tile 3. It's a U-shape, fairly common Zombicide spot, little weight bench, workout area, gym, looks like. Then if we flip it over to side 12, we have more of the interior of a hospital. We have a little security type room up there. We have some more cells. And then these can kind of link together like that. So the hallways, or the alleyways as they're also called, have a couple of special rules to them. This right here, the yellow, would also be considered an alleyway. Alright, so prison tiles have special alleyways. Prison tiles feature indoor alleyways. Indoor alleyways are counted as street zones for all purposes. Cars can be driven inside alleyways. Indoor alleys, as long as they got an opening, double opening door, yes, they can get inside the prison. Line of sight covers as many zones as they can. And search, you can't search an indoor alleyway. So what that basically means is these are inside of a building, but they're treated like street zones. 2.0 had a very similar thing with the White House in Washington, D.C. So it's a really neat little thing. So it's basically like when you're inside the building, they're not considered ruins. They're considered one big, giant, long street. You have different areas you can move, but they work just like the streets outside. So you can shoot all the way through them, see all the way through them. And then we also, as we're talking about that, we have cells. So each one will have different cells on here. So we're going to kind of talk about that. But here's a survivor standing in the street. You can see these zombies since the door is open and the prison is considered a thing. So you can see through the barbed wire, through this open door, all the way down to the other side until he hits a wall or the end of the map. Don't resolve with zombies spawning inside the indoor alleyway. So when you open this, no zombies are going to spawn directly in here because it's considered a street, basically. The cell is a building zone, however, can't be searched. So even though cells are in there, they can't resolve a zombie spawn in the zone when the door is open. So yeah, this door here would open because it's not a cell. This zone is a building and can be searched. So even in the building, it can be worked like normal. How do prison cells work? Cells are separated by wall. Movement can only enter a cell through an open door. Line of sight, cells are buildings. Can't be searched. Zombies spawning. Opening a cell door generates a zombie spawn inside the cell. The same happens if the cell door is open or missing when the route to the alley is open. Locking down a cell and then opening again does not generate new spawns. So that's kind of neat. So if there are doors, you walk into here and you open up this door here, if 3 of these are closed and 2 of them are open, the 2 that are open will automatically spawn. All the rest of them will, they'll stay closed until you open it. So it's kind of like, it's dangerous to open because you might spawn a zombie inside. Do we have a mention of how the doors work? I don't see a specific thing. Let me check. One sec. Alright, so not a direct special rule for the door, the cell doors, but they're made a little bit smaller, a little bit different, so they stand out. And then they'll go on each little spots there. And there's white and purple. And then we will also have the white and purple switches, which were somewhere in there. We'll activate them. We only get 1 set of switches in here, so there's only going to be 1 spot to activate them at. But otherwise, they work basically like anything else. You activate it using an action to activate them. So here's an example during one of the missions. So here we have some white doors. We have a couple of white ones here. We have some purple ones here. We have a white switch inside this door. So you have to come in here, open that to get to that switch. And then down here, we have either a purple door to get into there, or we would have a purple switch down here, and a white door up here. And then we have the yellow switch right there. It's just a couple of different things there. So yeah, you want right in here, you get the white switch, which will open the white doors, the cell doors on this one. And then you can get into there. Of course, it'll activate this purple spawn. And if you get down here, open up the purple trigger, it will open up this door, which can help you as well. But then you also have to worry about opening up those. So it does have in here, it says the violet switch opens all violet doors and all violet cell doors and the violet doors. The violet door closes when the switch is set back to its original settings. So you can shut the doors back up. We have the white switch. Activating the white switch opens all the white doors. You can also close it. And then we have right here the yellow is for rotating the security gate. To activate, rotate the security guard 1/4 left. Choose the direction of rotation each time the switch is used. The survivor switching to the yellow switch for the first time also takes the yellow objective. So yeah, that's kind of neat, just kind of how all that works. Just showing off some of those. Here is an example of our extra room tile. I didn't go over that yet, but we do have an extra room tile. You can set it in there. So we'll just look at that really quick as long as we're looking at this. The observation towers and extra zones. Observation tokens allow survivors to climb out of the reach of common zombies and call the infection numbers by shooting directly below Blair. Beware not to get surrounded, though. So here's our option. Has barbed wire around it, so you can shoot around it, but it has a ladder, so it's one-sided. Observation towers can only be accessed by ladders. Using a ladder is done the same way as crossing an open door. Zombies can never get in or spawn the observation tower. Towers can be shot at normally. They don't have walls. Zones can be shot normally. Survivors gain +1 max range as long as they have are in the observation tower and cannot be searched. So what will happen though is zombies can potentially cram up at the bottom of this. They just won't crawl up there. And then extra zones on the reverse side features extra zones where you put anywhere you need. Large zones in a crossroad, in a courtyard, outside the game board, as a rooftop, or a secret zone. They share the same roads as buildings, except give you greater flexibility. So this is kind of neat. Adds an extra little room tile in there, so if you need it somewhere else, and you did see that on the one map there. So put a little extra room, like maybe a shed out in the basketball court, just to give you a little something different to do. I was wondering if one of the other zones had one as well, or tile, or missions had one. So, like, there's one of our observation towers. It's in the middle of this big street. So that's kind of helpful. You can get up there and kind of protect yourself. We get something like this. It has 2 different observation towers. Let's see if we had another extra room tile on one of these. Now, it's the only one that shows the extra zone in it. But yeah, you can definitely set them however you want when you're creating your own custom games. You could have it, you know, drop inside here, take up 2 of the cell zones. You could stick it outside of one of these, you know, have it outside the board, have it way out here. An extra little space, something interesting. Maybe a starting point off the map. Tiles, bunch of different things there. Alright, let's jump back in and look at some more tiles here. We got a bunch more to go through. We have another U-shape. Some sort of, looks like workshop of some sort. Then if we flip this one over, we have kind of like the entrance to the hospital. So it kind of comes in, or maybe like the backside, dumpster outside, so maybe the backside of the hospital. Got some communication rooms, security rooms. Next tile, we just have some other different shaped building rooms, which are really fun. And we flip that one over, we have another rotating area. Now, you don't have to ever put a rotating area in there. Again, we only get 1 of those, so you're not going to be able to have multiple on the board at once, unless you bought like an extra tile pack with them. There's a bloody bathroom, some bloody showers, but yeah, just more different parts to make your full prison. We're going to get some more prison rooms. Guy's trapped under the mattress. Flip that one over, we get another spot for a one. So instead of a T spot, we get a corner. We have some more security rooms up there. Sorry, not security, kitchen. Little medical room. We have another outdoor tile, which has another spot for a rotating spot, which is kind of cool. Because this is kind of a neat one here, just because if you have this, right, you can have, oh, I have access to that room, and then you can rotate it. Now I have to be in there, I have access to that room, and then rotate that back out. Or if you did the other one, you know, either I can run straight across from the one side, or I can run straight up and down. So it gives you some different options, like lock off or block them rooms. So someone might have to be 2 rooms away, hanging onto a switch. Here's another bunch of prison cells. Two tiles left to go. We have another little corner there like that, just like the other one. We flip that over. We have Hellfest. It's an interesting street zone outside of the prison for whatever reason. And then our last one is a flooded interior. So I think, actually, I said the other ones, but I think it's supposed to be the rotating ones, or supposed to be the dotted line ones. But, you know, again, use them however you want. But this is supposed to be, like, kind of like, I think, entrance-ish into the hospital. And then there's another parkway, which is kind of cool. We get a little setup for that. It's kind of neat. Alright, so those are all of those. Then we do have all the different cars as well, which all have their own special little effects. So let's take a look at those quick. If I can find them in the book. Alright, so we have some different cars here. So searching in cars. So cars have their own special rules about driving around. You can attack people with cars. Let's kind of show that off really quick here. Do we have a picture at all? No, that's just regular combat. But cars attacks, it says, the survivor in Garrison spends an action to move a car. It runs over every actor in the zones, which is zombies and survivors. In each zone it enters. The player controls the driver. Driver rolls one die for each miniature in the zone. The car leaves every zone it moves through and zone it reaches, except for the survivors in any car. On 4, 5, or 6, it successfully inflicts 1 damage. Only 1. It is impossible to run down a fatty or an abomination. Assign these hits to the following target in priority, just like regular ranged attacks. So survivors first, then walkers, then fatties, and abominations, finally runners. So that means if there is a fatty and abomination, you won't be able to take out the runners or things that are behind them. We also have to watch running over your teammates. Survivors may make melee and range attacks from inside the car without altering combat rules in any way. It offers no protection to their occupants from other attacks. So speaking of car and crushing all zombies, it usually sounds like a good idea to clear large streets, but can have consequences. First, the driver gains experience points way faster than its fellow survivors. Rapid rising day levels can put the whole team at risk. Then after a car run, the team could be split across distant areas of the board, so it can be hard to do. So we have some extra special things. You can search the cars as long as there are survivors in the same zone and there are no other zombies. Car substitution. You have to substitute some cars for others to add flavor to your game. You suit your playstyle, or try older missions again. Note that these substitutions work both ways. Police cars can be replaced by taxis. Pimp mobiles can be replaced by hippie mobiles or muscle cars. So the police cars, you can search more than once during your game. Draw a card until you find a weapon. Discard the other card. The card triggers the appearance of a walker and interrupts the search. You can search the pimp mobile only once per game. It contains the gun blade. Unless the mission other states otherwise, feel free to add any pimp mobile weapon you might own from other Zombicide games. Draw one of them randomly. Some missions may contain many pimp mobiles. In this case, only the weapons that have not been taken can be inside them. The hippie mobile can be searched in the same way as the pimp mobiles. Ignore car attacks made by hippie mobiles. They're harmless. It's just kind of fun in a way if you want to have a car drive around without worrying about hurting people. Muscle cars can't be searched, but they can move up to 3 zones instead of 2 when driven. And taxis you can search more than once. They're just like a zone, but flashlight cards have no effect. Yeah, so very interesting. Some of the other games have different cars, so this just gives you some alternate options to do. Alright, so the only other token we didn't really talk about too much right now are these 3 doors up here at the top. These are prison main gates, just to separate them from your regular doors. So you have 2 brown ones, which are neutral doors, which can be opened like any other type of door. And then the purple and white are just going to be ones triggered by switches like any other switches. And these are set up because you have them alleys that might come into the sides. The side of a building instead of like opening up into a room. And that's just to show that you're opening up into like kind of like a street walkway type area. So that is all of those. Alright, let's look at some zombies. So, we're going to look at some miniatures here. That's what everyone here came for, right? So, we have some brand new walkers. We have 5 of each of these. If this wants to focus. Alright, so we have this walker here. Kind of like a punk guy. Got a little mohawk on, tattered up shirt. So, we have 5 of each of these. Number 2. I'm going to move this off because I think that's getting in the way. We have a suited guy here. Just kind of standing around, doing whatever. We got the, probably looks like maybe a homeless man. You know, maybe sitting out the alley. He has a stocking cap and the hoodie coat. We get another suited guy. These can all be like, hey, these could be people visiting the prison. Maybe they're looking for their relatives. Maybe they're just out. Maybe they're visiting whatever Hellfest is, right? They're in town. But you need like regular zombies because this is a core set. So that's why they have all these regular zombies in there. So I got the regular jacket, kind of. So we got 3 suited guys. We kind of got a punk guy and like a hobo-y guy. Alright, then we have some new runners. So we have 5 of these guys as well. This one's crazy. He's like literally ripping his shirt open. He's like a jogger. I love the peg in there just to make it added. It just helps him stand, so he actually does have more of a running motion. Then we have the girl. So I could get some females in here. She's another jogger. I don't know why these guys are jogging outside of a prison, you know, but to each their own, I guess. Then we have our brute, or again, as they called them in the set, fatties back then. I like brute better. We got like a house mom type woman. I think she's visiting the prison for conjugal visits. I forgot how many. Did we have 5 of these as well? No, I'm sorry. We had 6 of each of them. 6 of each of the walkers, 6 of each of the runners, and 6 of her. And then we have the 1 standard abomination. Nothing extra special about him. He's just a big old hulking guy. This is definitely some sort of construction worker. He has all his tools on his belt. That's a menacing pose too, right? He's like, rawr, Hulk, zombie Hulk smash. Alright, so those are the regular ones. And let's look at, well, we'll look at their cards in a second. Then we have the new Berserkers. Which are spawned in orange. So we have these guys here. So these guys are all prison guards and stuff. Now we don't have as many of them. We have 4 of each of them. Instead of the 6. Sorry, I'm bouncing around here. I was trying to find the specific rules for Berserkers. Okay, they're there. Let's take a look at them all quick, and then we'll hop into the rulebook. So we have, like, a security guard here. Got his hag on, zombie, the infection kind of ripping through his shirt. Now, it's also neat because they have kind of pulsing stuff on them. Versus the regular zombies are just undead. These guys have kind of like a pulse on them. Like a growth. So here's a female security guard. And they got the hats on and stuff, which is neat. We have a 3rd one. So this is a prisoner. Yeah, those big old bulbous pulsing stuff. This is, I think that's supposed to be like the infections making them a berserker. Then we have the other prisoner. Come on. Got a big growth popping out of his shoulder and his back. Ew. So yeah, something hit this prison. Then we got some runners again, 4 of each of these. And then look at his jaw, right? This is kind of neat. They get like weird spiked mandibles at the bottom. But he's got a tank top on. He's not completely shirtless. All of his shirt's just tied around his waist, but he's got a tank top on. The other runner. Oh, come on. Camera, focus. Focus, focus. There we go. So he's also running, same thing, tank top. A little bit, maybe a little bit nicer if he was maybe facing the other way or something. We got 4 of the brute ones, which are the big dudes. Their vest is ripped wide open, hanging out, boil stuff all over the place. He's got the spiky jaw thing. And then we have the Abomination. This is our big muscly brute. We only have 1 of him. I like that they still try to like keep him with a tank top, but he has growth plates on him. He's got a big spiked claw hand. That's crazy. So for an idea of what those guys look like, so there's a colored picture of 1 of them. So that's kind of what these growths look like on them. Do they have, I'm sure they have another picture. Yeah, so here's, love some of these colored pictures they have of them in there. So that's what one of the runners looks like. That's what one of those guys looks like. Do they have the Abomination pictured? I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. Yeah, there's the Abomination. Alright, so what do Berserkers do? Alright, Berserkers have a special ability. Berserker zombies are immune to ranged damage weapons, except for weapons killing everything in their target, such as Molotov cocktails. Unless otherwise stated, the only way to kill a Berserker zombie is in melee combat. So this is what makes them even more dangerous, because you can't just shoot them from a distance. Like we were just talking about, we had the watchtowers, and we had the fencing on the prison by the basketball court, and you can't use that to your advantage against them. Unless otherwise, so Berserker zombies exist in all types, fatties, runners, walkers, etc. They have the same characteristics and same targeting priorities. But in ranged combat and car attacks, a Berserker of a given type is targeted after standard and toxic zombies. So yeah, the other ones will be there first. Players can still choose their targets in melee combat. So it says, fires a shotgun into a zone where a walker, a Berserker walker, a fatty, and a runner stand. He scores 2 hits of this first ranged combat action. The walker is removed, but the Berserker walker is immune. Any subsequent shot is useless, as it will be absorbed by the Berserker walker. The Berserker protects both the fatty and the runner. Watch rushing in the middle of his second action, and his third action swings his chainsaw and scores 2 hits. Melee combat allows you to choose the target of the killing the Berserkers. Watch removes the Berserker walker and the runner, and the fatty remains for Watch team to pick off. So that's kind of neat, that they absorb the extra damage, so they make range damage a lot harder to do. Berserker fatties are spawned with an escort of 2 Berserker walkers. So this is following the traditional or the standards. So we go back up to here. Regular fatties are damaged only 1. You need 2 damage to kill them. But each fatty spawns with 2 walkers. So this was an old thing that Classic did, was they had you spawn extra walkers with the big guys. So that's what makes them even more dangerous. Car attacks can kill Berserker zombies. Do not activate from extra type activations. And the Berserker Abomination has 1 additional game effect. It moves up to 2 zones instead of 1, which is why when we talked earlier about the rotating gate, it was able to move through multiple areas. Also, they're not turned by toxic abominations. So it's basically right now there's 3 special types in this set by this time. Standard, toxic, which release blood sprays and have to be eliminated from a distance, and Berserkers, which have to be melee. So yeah, it's kind of cool. So you can play the toxic ones, which you want to shoot because otherwise they blow up and do damage, and the Berserkers, which you have to get up in melee. So it adds that interesting element if you have all these types mixed together of how you have to play the game. Alright, so then let's look at some zombie cards. Quick, so before we even do that, we do have a big stack here of wound cards, which are how you keep track of your damage. In Classic Zombicide. Just set those off to the side. When I also didn't show up, we had 6 regular dice. You know, whoopity-doo. Extra dice. Alright, so we got cards 191 all the way up to 120. And we'll go ahead and take a look at these. Move all these zombies out of my way. I'm going to tilt my camera down a little bit farther because it makes it easier to see these. Alright, so we're going to go through. So it's frag time. So it's going to show just, you have your picture of your walker or your runner, or you might have a berserker. Or it's going to show the type. I shouldn't say berserker. You're going to have either a picture of a walker, a fatty, a runner, or an abomination, which will be basically a fatty with a plus in its center. Let's just say how you spawn. So these work a little bit different than the older one, or the newer ones, which just show which type and how much you do. This one, how much you do at that level. This instead indicates which one you'll do. So like if you draw this, it shows what level you are, what type you spawn, versus the newer ones. It shows what zombie you spawn and how many you spawn at that type or level. Alright, so we have a 5, 2, 2, 1. Then we have a 7, 6, 1, 1. A 4, 1, 1, 1. So we have some different ones there. Start getting some runners and some brutes in there. A lot of walkers in that one. I'm just going to kind of flop these and pause these if you like to look at these a little bit closer. Just because they're just summoning guys. There's nothing extra special on them. I think after every couple of these, they just recycle. So I think it's right. We had a 5, 2, a 7, a 4, a 2, and then it starts back. Oh, that's different. Did not start back over. Then we have a 7, 3. I think they kind of do. They might not. We'll just keep going. Yeah, we haven't had any of the big guys yet. So there's our first abomination in orange. I don't know if this style is better than the newer style, because the newer one you draw it, you immediately see what type you are. You have to try and figure out what type of zombie you're doing. But this one, it does it or not make it more random. Because you draw one of these, you're getting a random type anyhow. But you know, like if I get it, if I'm in red, I'm gonna get this guy in red, this guy versus the other one. I think it's all the same. I think it probably evens out. Alright, that's our last frag time. Then we have some more. It says, just when you thought things couldn't get any worse, you have your extra turns. All walkers get an extra one. Second one for walkers. One for all your fatties. One for all your runners. And then we have two last ones, which are sewers located on a tile with at least one character will spawn different zombies. And there's some different numbers for each one of those. So that's kind of neat, because I don't think the newer ones really use the sewer tiles that much. But that is those. Alright, then we have the berserkers, which have a little knife in their hand. They have a shiv. So just cut them down. It's going to show them. It's going to show the type they are, but it has the symbol to show that that's what they are. Where the newer ones, I think, put a picture of that actual guy on there. So we have bunch there. Just kind of flip through all these pretty quick. And these, I think, these actually take place number-wise beforehand. This goes up to 90. So if anyone's keeping track of your numbers, it's 79 through 90 for them. It's all just cut them down. They do have kind of a little brown border, which is nice. They gave them for each of the different types. Alright, so then all we have left are our survivors and our weapons. So we're going to hop through all of our survivors first, and then we will come back and look at the weapons. So we're going to start with Belle. I'm going to have to zoom back out so we can see these. These are a little bit bigger cards. But we have Belle here, who is our sportsy character. Probably like maybe roller derby. Possibly. She doesn't have roller skates on, so I can't say that for sure. And she does not want to stay in my holder here. I'm going to drop her there. So here's her miniatures. Now all the old ones all came in different colors. Yeah, she had a dual wielding sword, a little short sword, a long sword. Her little sports gear. Very cool there. So what does she do for us? So Belle has... Let me see if I can scoot this out just a little bit more so we can make sure we have the entire card in there. She has one free move action, since I think kind of, again, I think she's supposed to be the roller derby girl. I might be wrong on that, but I thought that's it. Does it say in the beginning of the book? Sometimes it tells you. Oh, parkour. She's a parkour person. Alright. So I was wrong. That's why she gets extra movement. In yellow, of course, you always get +1 action. In orange, 1 free melee action or +1 die roll for range. You know, kind of what you need her to be doing. In red, she has +1 die for combat, 1 free movement, or ambidextrous, which lets her treat all melee and range weapons as if they had the dual symbols. So it's kind of cool. She can dual wield swords, dual wield guns. She's kind of all over. She has a little bit of extra movement around, but it's what do you need her to do. Then if we flip her over to her Zombicide, which will have a little picture on the back, like she switches from swords to axes. Kind of fun. So here's her other miniature. So what I love about these, they stopped doing these for 2.0. I do love the fact is because if you go through, you could always just use these in general, but if you went through and painted them all, so they're all regular colors, you could actually just use all these zombies as additional walkers. The Zombivers, which I think is a really fun idea. Use them all as additional walkers, so that way you'd have more of a variety. Oh, you have all these guys running around with weapons instead of just your shuffling zombies. Or you could make like your own rules and have a specific class or special type, like we have like the Berserkers and the Toxic. You can make like armed zombies or something that do something different. You know, whatever you like. Alright, so one special thing the Zombivers do is in yellow, they lose their free action, and they gain a specific action, generally. So she keeps her 1 free move action, but now in yellow, so instead of having just an action to do anything, she can only do ranged actions. So it makes her a little bit slower, but they also have 5 health, so it kind of makes up for some of that. In orange, she has +1 die roll range. And she gains Zombie Link, which means every time an extra activation card is drawn, she gets an extra turn to take before the other zombies, which is really cool. In orange, she has her +1 die for combat, her ambidextrous, which she also gains regeneration. Means at the end of the turn, she heals all her wounds. So that is really fun there as well. Alright, our next character up is Joshua. Although these aren't played off of anybody, he does kind of look like Nick Frost from, like, what's the name of the movie? It's the zombie movie with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, and I can't think of the name of it. Yep, it'll come to me later. But he has like a little double-barrel shotgun. Yeah, just very, you got a little purple, kind of, again, they match their card color, but I think they're just getting too many guys after 3 years. Bunch of Kickstarter stretch goals. Just hard to find mixing colors. So he starts with Lifesaver, which says you can use the skill for free once during each of his turns. Select a zone containing at least one zombie from one at range 1. He can pull any survivors in that zone to his zone, so he gets to pull guys away from zombies. Now, again, that's the thing, they have to have a zombie in that zone, so he can't just be using it to pull guys out from wherever they want. Both characters need to share a clear path. Survivor can't be pulled across barricades, fences, walls, through doors, stuff like that. So he can't be on the other side of the fencing barbed wire and pull a guy through a barbed wire. Or he can't pull a guy from up the observation tower. And can't be used in a car or, the observation tower. Or in or out of those areas. You can't pull a guy off of an observation tower or off of a car. But yeah, it can help get guys out of the way, which is really nice. In orange, he has 1 free ranged action or +1 die roll for melee. So just a little, here or there, wherever he needs to be. In red, 1 free combat action, +1 dice roll for range, and Boring Leader. Boring Leader will let him give a 1 free action to another survivor to use as he pleases. This action may be used during the recipient's next turn or is lost. So the earlier he gets to go, it doesn't matter because you can save it until their next turn. It's not the end of the round. But that just he can always help someone else. You know if their turn's coming up. You can throw them an extra action so they can use it to move or attack more. Or their turn's already happened and you know that, oh, okay, zombies are going to move into their zone next turn. They might need that extra action to get away. Or the next turn, they might be like, this guy's standing on a switch. Giving him an extra action will let him open the door, let you do something, and then let you close it or turn the security gate twice. Some different options there. His Zombicide version, again, he switches to a different weapon, which is very interesting. So he switches to some double swords. I don't know where all these survivors are always finding katanas and swords at. I mean, I grew up. I'm a geeky person. I own some swords myself. But I had to go special get them. There wasn't just a store in my town that was selling swords. So I don't know where all these guys are. I get the guy at the dojo, the martial arts people having them, but I don't know where everyone else just happens to find swords laying around. So that's kind of funny. Alright, so he stays with Lifesaver right off the bat. So even though he's a zombie, he still has enough sense to know how to protect people. But now his 1 action becomes a melee action. In orange, he has +1 die roll for melee, and he gains super strength. So I love that they do change up a little bit. So it's considered damage of melee weapons to be 3. So yeah, you can do some damage there. In red, +1 die roll for range, Born Leader, and regeneration. Now, both zombies so far have regeneration. It's not something guaranteed all zombies are going to have. It just happens to be what they got. Alright, our third survivor. What was Joshua? I think Joshua was listed as the Protector. I remember, yeah, Joshua the Protector. Here is Griglock, the Headbanger. So this is our big mega rock guy. He's wielding a chainsaw. He's got some big old tats all over him, although they're not going to show up on the miniature at all. Let's look at his miniature. He's just a dark blue miniature. He's got a little H on his shirt. He's got his big long chainsaw. I think it's longer than it's supposed to be. Some metal chains there. Yeah, he's ready to go. So he has Taunt. Taunt is always a fun mechanic. Use it for free once during your turns. You select the zone you can see. All zombies standing in the zone immediately getting extra activation. They try to reach the taunting survivor by all means available. Taunted zombies ignore all other survivors. Do not toss them. Cross zones they stand in if you need to reach them. So I love it because it's you can use it as a great way to hey, this guy was doing melee combat. He didn't kill all the zombies, so when they activate, they're all going to attack them. You can instead taunt and have him pull them zombies out of the way. Alternatively, you can use it the other way and set up a trap. Pull zombies towards you to group into a larger group and then maybe Molotov them. Or maybe pull them around a corner where they're not in line of sight of all the other guys, so then they'll only maybe still go after him because they no longer can see the other guys, and then maybe he can run into a building, and now the zombies aren't activating by line of sight, but by noise. So it could help very well to do some of that stuff to just kind of move the zombies to position where you need them, pull them closer to a shooter, pull them into a group with a bunch of melee guys. So that way you don't have to spend your move actions, you get 1 extra melee. Some very interesting stuff there. In orange, he has 1 free melee action and Slippery. Survivor is not spending extra action when he performs a move action through zones where there are zombies. So this might be taunt. Taunt guys into his zone then he can sit there and attack more, and if he has to leave, he has Slippery, he can just step out without having to spend extra actions. In red, +1 damage for melee. Is that all you've got? And when he rolls a 6, he gets +1 die for combat. He's straight up your melee guy all over the place. Is that all you got? Says you can use the skill anytime a survivor is about to get wounded. Discard 1 equipment card to survivor's inventory for each wound he's about to receive. Negate the wound per discarded equipment. Yes, again, get guys into your zone. Run away if you need to go Slippery, or discard stuff to stay alive. Alright, his zombie version takes off his shirt and then holds his chainsaw a little bit more vertically. Although it doesn't look as much like it in the miniature. They could have swapped that up a little bit. So here is his zombie version. Just has his shirt off, basically, leaning forward a little bit more. But like I said, yeah, they could have changed it up a little bit, have him facing the other direction, you know, had the chainsaw hanging down, or maybe had it more vertically like they show in the picture. Because he doesn't look super different. But that's what it is, right? So so far he's the one guy that kept his weapon, though. He has Taunt. He has 1 free melee action, Slippery and Zombie Link. In red, +1 damage for melee. Reaper, combat, or roll 6, +1 die for combat. So he loses his Is That All You've Got? And he gains Reaper Combat, which says, use a skill when assigning hits resolving a combat action. One of these can freely kill an additional zombie of the same zone. So if he kills a walker, he gets a free walker. He kills a abomination, he gets to kill an extra abomination. Kills a runner, kills an extra runner. So it kind of really helps him take out guys, which works again with him trying to gather everyone to him. Alright, halfway through our survivors, we have Kim. It's sexist that they put her in pink? I don't think so. Just saying it. Oh, because dual hammers. That's an awesome outfit, though. The suspender, not suspenders, they're garters, I think it's what they're called, with the vest. That's just a really cool outfit. But yeah, I love the dual hammers. Come on, focus on me. You can do it. Is it not because of this? Is that your problem? No. Alright, up next we have Kim, who's wielding the double hammers, the claw hammer the claw part out there. I love the outfit, with the vest and the little garters and stuff. That's really cool. Alright, let's see if we can get this to focus in on her. It might be about as best as we can get. I just don't know why it's not focusing. It's because it's pink. Oh, there we have it. Perfect. Look at that. Yeah, she's gonna beat the crap out of you there. Definitely a nice... Definitely, again, I always like where this game tends to have a little, like, I think they've toned it down somewhat in more recent years, but especially the first couple of sets, they had a little bit, I want to say, over-sexualization of some of the female characters. Which is fine. It's not a big deal or anything, but it is nice that they made some really cool ones with that. She's Poker Face. Okay, cool. So she's like, that's why she's dressed like that. She's maybe in like the casino. Again, which is interesting. Is there a casino outside this prison? Alright. She starts with Lucky though, so she can re-roll all one of guys each action she takes. Results replace previous ones. Skill stats with effects like reroll 1 per turn example, and equipment that allows rerolls. It's also each action, so if she does anything that does any type of action, so a car action, you know, melee weapon, range weapon, whatever. In red, she has roll a 6, she gets +1 die for range. Hey, you know, not rolling these 6s, you might re-roll into some 6s. Webbing lets her use all her items in her reserve as if they're in her hand. really cool there, very helpful. In rag, 1 free combat action, +1 die roll for combat, or if she rolls a 6, she gets +1 die for melee. So kind of, yeah, how do you need her to do? What do you want her to be doing? You probably want to give her stuff that lets her roll dice, so she can use lucky a lot. Webbing will help. You can add extra cards in your backpack. She can swap around between ranged and melee when she needs to. She has some really good... she's not dedicated to one thing. Then she flips over when she becomes a Zombivor, though she trades in her hammers for some little SMGs, submachine guns here. It's just always funny, right? I like how all these guys keep switching their weapons to like a completely different type. Oh, come on, you. There we go. Yeah. And of course, because you're a zombie, your shirt gets ripped open. She had dual machine guns. You killed me. Now she's like, I'm done with this hammer stuff, and she comes back. It would have been cool if she had like a hammer in like one hand, and then like a gun in the other. Like she just picked up a gun because she had enough of that. But yeah, still definitely cool. We still have Lucky. Now her yellow becomes 1 free ranged action, so she has guns. She's gonna focus on ranged. In orange, we keep our webbing, which also says Reaper Combat. So again, let her, every time she kills one, she gets to kill an additional one. In red, 1 dice roll for combat. Roll a 6 +1 die for melee. And then she has Zombie Link. So she loses her extra die for range. For rolling the 6, she gets Reaper instead. And then she loses... what was the last thing she had? 1 free combat action. She uses her extra combat action for Zombie Link. So it could potentially give her an entire turn versus 1 action, but it might not hit nearly as often. Alright, trying to figure out the next one here. We have Shannon. Who's dual wielding some shorty shotguns there. So she's this soldier. I'll explain the shaved head, combat boots. Makes sense. Well, the combat boots aren't buckled up. Blasphemous. But yeah, little tank top there. Interesting set of characters. I do wish there was because it's a prison set, it would have been neat if, like, one of the characters at least would have been, like, a prison guard. And then another one would have been like an inmate. That definitely would have made like more thematic sense. I mean, I like all these characters. I have nothing against any of them. I just think it would have made more sense to be like, oh, hey, yeah, like one of our guys is a prison guard or head of security that got out. And then another one, maybe they're wielding like a baton or something, like a pistol. And then another one should just been like a prisoner, and then you if he was wielding like a barbell, like at like half of the weights on the end. That would have been kind of neat, or something like that would have been cool. So she starts with point blank. Says when firing at range 0, survivor chooses freely targets. So normally range you have to priority order. Here she gets to do just like a melee attack and choose who she attacks, including berserker zombies. She can choose them because she's shooting at blank range. So she actually gets to be up close like a melee, even though it's technically a ranged attack. Ranged weapons still need to inflict enough damage to take them out, though. In orange, she has 1 free ranged action, and she has Lucky. And then in red, 1 die for combat, 1 free combat action, and Slippery. Yeah, so basically her thing is kind of like, is it Grindlock? Griglock? It is Griglock. Grindlock. She wants to kind of get right up next to each other, but instead he's doing melee weapons. She wants to have the ranged weapon, but then she can always pull back as well, and do that. So that's kind of cool. Then if we flip her to her Zombicide, so there's not a whole lot you can really change on her. She swaps out for her double barrel for some pistols. But yeah, there's not like a whole lot of costume you can really change too much on her. And so she can lose her hair because she was already bald. But yeah, she's just tattered clothing. His guns are a lot bigger than they look like in the picture. The picture they look like little short ones here. They're big, giant, long ones. It's still fun though. So she has point blank. She keeps it. She gains 1 free ranged action instead of just a regular action. In orange, she keeps lucky, but she gains frenzy range, which we haven't seen yet. Frenzy range says ranged weapon survivor carries deal +1 die per wound. And dual weapons give them extra dice. So that's very helpful because zombivers have an extra 2 hit points. They're up to 3. They're up to 5 instead of 2. So the frenzy works a lot better with them. And red, 1 free die combat, Reaper combat, and slippery. And that Reaper combat's really nice because it lets him do the extra killing, but it's for anything. So although she's set up to be a ranged character, she can definitely do melee if she had to. Alright, our last survivor is Watts. Who has a baseball bat with a Z on it. He's the family man. Yeah, so he was at jail visiting his wayward father, his bad son. I'm not sure. Yeah, so here is him. He's got a nailed back. Right for a good old swing there. There's probably enough characters. You can even theme like your team just based on the miniature weapons. It'd be fun. Like, here's a team of nothing but people wielding baseball bats. Here's a team with nothing but people only using shotguns. Or only dual weaponing katanas. Be very interesting. So we have starts with the baseball bat. And orange has +1 die for melee, and he gets shove. Shove lets you spend a free action. I'll make sure it says free action. Yep, free action. Select 1 zone from your survivor. All zombies standing in your zone are pushed into the selected zone. Both of you have a clear zone. You can't push through doors, walls, or barricades. But lets you get everyone away from you for a turn, which kind of like reverse of taunt. It can definitely be used to like free guys up, get guys away from you or your teammates. You can move into a zone, push everyone out. It can be used to help set up for ranged attacks. Shove everyone away, so now you can use a ranged weapon 2 spaces away. You can use it to shove guys into a spot and then Molotov the entire area by combining zombies together. Or you can shove him into like Grindlock's spot, and then now he can have more guys to attack. In red, he has 1 free combat action, +1 die roll for combat, and 2 zones per move. Which is more or less what it exactly says it does. When survivor spends 1 action to move, he can move 2 zones instead of 1. So this guy might have been a former baseball player, maybe, because he has the ability to shove guys around. He can move. He's big guy. So that's pretty fun. His Zombicide version, he still has his baseball bat, but he grabbed a gun. He's like, I'm gonna pull out a gun. Just a baseball bat isn't enough. His torn shirt. You gain a beard? It's just his jaw, right? See if I can zoom in on that a little bit more. Yeah, I think it might just be the way it's shaded, but it almost looks like he has a beard. Which is very interesting. It'd be funny, he becomes a zombie and he gains a beard. Alright. So, there we go. He has still starts with his baseball bat, but now in yellow he has only a free melee action. In orange, now he has Frenzy for melee. So yeah, every time he gets damage, he's going to do more damage. He keeps his shove. And then red, +1 die roll for combat, 2 zones, but he also gets Frenzy for combat. So he already had Frenzy for melee, now he has it for combat. So it's kind of redundant, but it's also nice, because now you can take shove, knowing you can still get Frenzy later on if you need it, without having to play red zone and go all the way back around. Alright, so that is what we have for all our survivors. The last thing we have is our deck of equipment. It's a pretty thick deck. So we're going to go ahead and just hop into those and kind of go through all those. So we have 2 copies of the automatic shotgun. Let's see if I can drop my camera down a little bit more. Makes it easier to see these guys. So of course, if it shows a zombie hit, means it's for killing zombies. If it has noise icon, makes noise. If it has the X, it doesn't. Range of 0 to 1, 3 dice, 4 accuracy, 2 damage. We have 4 copies of which what you thought was a pile of rags is in fact a zombie. Place 1 walker in the room you just searched. It's not too bad. We have 3 copies of bags of rice, which by themselves apparently don't do anything. This is interesting because some of the older cards I think work like that. Or they had special effects attached to them. The rulebook might say. One sec. Alright, I had to do a quick look up on this because these 2.0 rules, all the rice and water, all them things, they usually have something like discard to gain experience points or they do something. So I wasn't quite familiar used to seeing cards that had nothing. So these are used for objectives. So there are various missions that might say collect a can of soup or collect this thing or that thing. And they're going to have you do that. Otherwise, they're used for while they're in your hand. If you get attacked and you get hurt, you gotta put a wound card in your hand. Because again, this game uses wound cards instead of just giving you wounds. They would... then you'd have to discard one of these items. So when 2.0 and stuff came out in the later games, it started using little tiles and stuff and just having wounds instead of having you gain wound cards that took up inventory slots. So it's kind of nice there. So there's just an example of this. It says objective, gather food, place the food is stored and mark to the red, take all objectives. So that might be one of it, just something like that. Yes, it says special rules food. At the beginning of the game, separate all the canned food, rice, water each time a red objective is taken. Whoever takes or receives one of these cards at random. So yeah, they're basically going to sit in your inventory, and if you get hurt, you could discard them. If you're using 2.0 rules, you could use these as experience instead, or just take them out altogether. Alright, we have 2 copies of the baseball bat, which Watts gets to start with one of these. 0 range, 1 die, 3 accuracy, 1 damage. We have 3 canned foods. Got 2 chainsaws for Grindlock. 0 range, 5 dice, 5 accuracy, but just 2 damage. It can also be used to open up a door. Of course, it's going to make noise, though. We have 4 copies of the Claw Hammer. Open doors and hurt people silently. 0 range, 3 dice, 5 accuracy, but it does 1 damage. 1 concrete saw. 0 range, 3 dice, 5 accuracy, 3 damage. 2 fire axes. 0 range, 1 die, 4 accuracy, 2 damage. We have 2 of the flashlights. Pick up 1 extra card when searching. This card is effective even if in reserve. We have 2 copies of the gasoline. Very simple here. If you have gasoline plus a bottle, you're going to make a Molotov. I think now the newer ones, they just made Molotov 1 object. They stopped doing the combining thing that this game does. Cause I think the idea was then people spent way more time trying to search for multiple items. And that's why they do the same thing with the canned stuff. They got rid of that as mission requirements. And the same thing with multiple items. So you have 2 glass bottles. To help you find that stuff a little bit quicker. We have 2 gun blades. Which is a blade. If you're using the blade part, this is before they had separate listings for melee and range on the cards. Blade part is silent, gun part as well. But the blade does range of 0 for 2 dice for 4 accuracy and 2 damage. The gun has 0 to 1 with 1 die. We have 4 hatchets. Some of these ones we have a bunch of are probably starter cards usually. 0 range, 1 dice, 3 accuracy, 1 damage. 2 katanas, 0, 2, 4, 1. I'm just going to read the numbers, stop saying all the stuff, save some time here. 4 Kiriki, or Kirkuri, just bladed, little blade weapon. 0, 1, 4, and 1. Got 2 meat cleavers. Sorry, let's just say. So 0, 1, 3, and a 2. I just want to look at these. Yes, they make a Molotov. And if we needed to, we actually have 2 Molotovs in there. 0 to 1 range, special damage, special accuracy, and damage is a lot. Molotovs, of course, just take out everything in the zone. It doesn't matter. I don't remember if you have to roll an extra die for them or not. Discard a glass bottle of gasoline to give your Spyro Molotov card. The Molotov doesn't need dice, accuracy, or damage value. Still requires a ranged combat action. Just terminate everything in card zone. Yes, even other survivors, abominations. You discard after a single use. So basically you have to leave these to the side, and then you just pull them out when you make one of them. 2 copies of Nailbats, wielded by Watts in the picture. I really like to actually use that artwork as well. 0, 2, 3, and 2. So then we can make those by combining nails and a bat. So actually I do wonder though, should you keep these cards, if you're playing this mode, should you keep those cards out? Or you just go find the deck to see if you can get them. It doesn't really specify in there. You just search the deck and find them when you create them. I just like the idea. I just say just keep them out and have less cards in the deck to mess with. If they're not going to do anything else. We have 3 nightsticks. If equipped, discard to prevent 1 wound inflicted to the wearer. Just gonna be cool. You had a survivor that was a security guard. You could give him a nightstick to start with. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pistols to start with. 0, 1, 1, 4, and 1. And what was the nightstick? We didn't read that one. 0, 1, 4, and 1. And we have 3 copies of Plenty of Ammo. As long as this card is in your inventory, you may reroll all ranged actions once with sawed-off shotguns or mod shotguns, and your results take over the previous one. We have 3 copies of Plenty of Ammo. As long as it's in your inventory, you may reroll all range with pistols, evil twins, or a rifle. And then we got 2 copies of the rifle. 0 or 1 to 3 range. So no close-up stuff. 1, 3, and 1. Got 2 copies of a riot shield. B4. If equipped, gain 1 tough skill, which lets you ignore the first damage you would take, or discard to prevent 1 wound inflicted to the wearer. We have 4 sawed-off shotguns, special 1 action to reload or free at the end of phase. 0 to 1, 2, 3, and 1. So what that means is that if you use this, you have to spend extra action so you can spend 1 to fire it, 2nd action to reload it, 3rd action to fire it again, or you can fire it once, wait till the end of your turn, reload it during your turn, and the next turn be able to use it again. Just it's a neat little effect. The Western one did that a lot. We have 2 copies of the scope when combined with a rifle to get a sniper rifle. Get the sniper skill for all ranged action zones. The sniper rifle survivor just to choose freely. Now I don't mind this. I didn't really like the nails and the baseball bat kind of made sense. And the Molotovs, I didn't have an issue with it. I just think like if you had a reason to do if they all had a secondary use, I think it would be better just rather than having extra thing. But this I guess kind of makes sense because it gives a skill. Kind of like the shield gives a skill. I don't mind as much it gives a skill, but you're just changing it to a better weapon. It's alright, but if there's like 3 or 4 things that the nails could be used with, or the gasoline could be used with 3 or 4 different things, that would be different. Maybe use a gasoline can as a reload like the bullet mechanic for your chainsaw, and you take an extra chainsaw action or something. You know, like, if it had multiple uses, I guess. I don't know. I can dwell on it too much. We have 2 shotguns, 0 to 1, 2, 4, and 2. These are kind of heavy. We have 2 copies of the submachine gun. 0, 1, 3, 5, and 1. We have 2 copies of the Wakazuchi. If equipped, gain +2 dice with katana. 0, 1, 4, and 1. And then finally, we have 3 water. Now, if you own the other base games for this set, whether it's the main original Zombicide, or if you had the 3rd season, which is Rue Morgue, you might have some duplicate weapons here and there. You can always mix and match them. And again, you can combine, lots of these cards. If you're playing with 2.0 rules, I would probably just use all the cards from 2.0. But some of these might not exist in there. You could mix and match them in there, or again, I'd say maybe use them as a special deck, much like the 2.0 expansions like Zombicide and Washington ZZ and what's the other one? The military base one. Can't think of it. But they have special extra decks. So one's a military, one's the Secret Service deck, which have like rare cards in there. You can have a 3rd deck of just these cards if you wanted to have an option of maybe picking these as an alternate option for your regular loot. Oh, I can loot the 2.0 stuff, or I can loot these. That is always an option as well. Alright, that is what we have for Season 2 Prison Outbreak. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. A little bit long, lots of stuff to go through, but really fun. Now, is this worth picking up if you have 2.0 and you want to grab some extra stuff? 6 new survivors if you think you want some more survivors. Definitely cool there. The Berserkers, if you have the reboot, you can add them in there very easy. Add the survivors in there very easily. New map tiles. The prison mechanics are kind of neat with the cells and the observation towers, the rotating things. The switches are really cool. So you can add the switches into any different doorway wherever you want. Add some regular blue doors, or purple and white doors for those. You can add the rotating things into other maps as well. So yeah, all that stuff is cool. So just for the survivors, yeah, they're pretty neat. Nothing mind-blowing. You probably have enough if you own a bunch of the other content. But the extra zombies are really cool to get. Just some different models even for the regular kind. Yeah, so there we go. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hit me up in the comments. See you guys later. Bye.